are silicone fingertip things, and they're generally used for people who want to remove gel polish from nails to soak it off. However, I've discovered they have some other uses. They are very good for being able to handle things without leaving your fingerprints on them. They are very good if you're using a glue gun because it protects your fingers from getting burnt. And also very handy for keeping your fingertips out of inks and things. And because they're silicone, nothing sticks to them, which is absolutely wonderful. Now these I got from Amazon and they were very reasonably priced. And you can get all sorts of designs and shapes and things. But yeah, I think they're really great. I've got 2 packets of 5, so I've got plenty to keep me going. And yeah, repurposing something can't be bad, can it? I recently made a batch of Christmas tree decorations like this, and a few luminaries like this. And because I did that and they are cut from 3mm plywood, I ended up with a load of discs. So I decided I really didn't want to waste them, and I would make those into tree decorations as well. So this is what I've come up with. All I did was I sanded the edges with my E-file. I used my husband's Dremel to put a little hole in the top, and before I put these wire loops on, I heat embossed them as you would on card making normally. I just use Versamark with a stamp, add the embossing powder and heated it through. And then afterwards I came in with my brush and my inks, and I added some colour, as you can see from my fingertips. So that's how they're done. Very, very simple. And I think they're quite effective. They're quite nice, and because these would have been thrown away otherwise, you know, why not do something with them? They're too small to make coasters from them. I wasn't sure what else I would do. So that's what I've done. Now the little rings that I've put in here, I made myself using some wire. This is number 1. It's relatively thin wire. Now you can see that I haven't taken these grips off, and I haven't taken them off because when you take them off of wire bundles like this, the wire tends to sort of uncoil and get in a right mess. So because I don't usually use more than a few inches of wire at a time, I just picked up one of the strands and cut it at either end and just did it that way. This way I've still got my neat bundle. It's not going to be wasted because it's not getting damaged. So to make those, all you do is you get something round. I use one of these tools, wrap it around, and then use a pair of wire cutters to cut off the loops. Really, really easy. What you need then is a pair of pliers to close them back up. And sometimes you don't even need that because it's very soft wire. You can close them back up with your fingers if you really need to. So that's what I've done, and I think those will make quite nice tree decorations. But the other thing that I thought was I can actually design some cards around these and then put it in the card, and then whoever gets the card not only gets a card but a decoration as well. So I thought that would be quite a nice idea. Next up, I have a nice little hack for you if you want to add some texture to your cards and whatever else you may be making. Now this stuff is more commonly used either in adding to clothing or cutting up in strips and adding to cards and things like that. It's little metal discs on some webbing. I don't know what they call it. But it sends off an awful lot of light under bright lights. It's rather attractive from that point of view. However, what you can do is use it in an embossing machine, and look what you get. This was a normal plain gold card, and now look, completely different texture to it. So it's amazing what you can do with things that you might have around the house. So at this time of year, when you're thinking of making Christmas cards and you want to add a little bit of extra glamour, texture and the rest of it, you're sometimes tempted to go buy lots of different sparkly cards and textured cards when perhaps you don't actually need to. The next one is a piece of shelf liner. That's what this is. They sell a lot of it over here and get it in every single hardware shop, Chinese shops, the whole lot. This one's got quite a fine pattern on it. And again, I've used some metallic card, passed it through. Now I don't know if you're going to get the full impact of this, but the pattern has transferred to the card and it's made a really nice result. It may well be that the camera doesn't pick this up too well, so you might have to take my word for it. Subtle, but definitely textured, or at least it looks textured, even though it feels quite smooth still. But definitely worth a look. This one is again shelf liner, but it has a bigger pattern on it. And when I did that, you can probably see this a lot easier. This was a holographic silver card to start with, and now it has the imprint of all the circles, and it looks pretty good. Finally, I had some of this in my stash. Now it comes like this in a roll. I have absolutely no idea what it's supposed to be for other than decorative purposes. Maybe on a table as a runner, I really don't know. But run that through the embossing machine with some gold foil and you end up again with a really spectacular finish to it. So if you're a little bored of your cardstocks, don't forget to hunt around the house for things that might add texture. I was actually thinking that when I saw this, I thought it would be really great if you had a piece of lace from a wedding dress or a christening gown or something like that, to use that to emboss a card for an anniversary, or maybe for the wedding or a christening, that type of thing. And if you have a scrap of the fabric, there's no reason why you can't use it. And you don't do any harm to the fabric, but you could end up with a really treasured card. The last item today is a gizmo item. Now my husband calls this a vernier gauge. I assume it's named after somebody. I haven't done the research to find that out. And if you're not into DIY and measuring things and electronics and engineering and all the rest of it, you may wonder what on earth this does. But it's very simple. It has an electronic gauge and you just switch it on. And when you pull this back, it starts to measure and it automatically reads it for you. Now this one is great because it has a really big display. You can have millimeters or inches there, millimeters there. It's just got an on-off button and a 0 button. So when you close it, you set it to 0 to start it off with, and then you open it up and measure. So obviously you can measure the outside of things like that. So I would probably choose to put it between the outer edges. There we go, 71 millimeters. Or you can use this side to measure the inside of something. So for example, I have my teacup here, and I can move that out and it'll give me the measurement 107.5 millimeters. And this is just easy. Yes, you could get a ruler and you could measure, whereas if I force it through the jewels here, I know what the maximum measurement is, whereas if I measure with a ruler, I might get it slightly under. So it's particularly useful for round items. The other thing I found it very handy for is for projects for my 3D printer. If I want to make something that is a specific size, for example, pen holders and things like that for my silver bullet, and I need the diameter to be a certain size, then I can measure the object that I want to replicate and make sure that I design it to the correct size, which is always handy. So yeah, just a little gizmo. They're not overly expensive. This one I think was about 10 euros or so. And this one is from Tack Life. But there are a lot of them out there that look pretty much identical. This one is plastic because I'm not going to be throwing around the place. It's for the craft room, not the garage. And it feels pretty sturdy anyway, but it's certainly strong enough for me. If you're going to use one for actual proper engineering purposes, you would probably go for a metal one. For me, I'm not bothered. I think this is perfectly good for what I need it for. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.